Okay, good morning, good night, good afternoon. I hope everybody is doing fantastic today. Today is a good day. And I just want to talk about how to deepen emotional intimacy because there's so many couples who lack emotional intimacy, like that aspect of their relationship. Like they go on thinking, oh, we have the physical part down in our relationship. That's all that matters. Like we're having spicy time. And, talking to so many couples, they're like, oh, our sex life is good. So why do we need emotional intimacy? And what I found is that most couples aren't aware of what emotional intimacy actually entails. But emotional connection is literally the foundation of it's part of what makes the foundation of a fulfilling relationship. Because a lot of times we build our relationships based on the sexual aspect, right? And we don't realize that we're doing it because when we meet our significant other, I'm sure that, a lot of you can attest to this, is that, you've seen them from across the room and they looked, fantastic. They had the muscles, they had the outfit, they had the curves, or maybe, even you met them through a mutual friend, but your eyeballs were like, yum. So then you start dating, you're starting to get to know each other, but you realize that a year in, 2 years in, 5 years in, that you don't have that emotional connection with your partner. And now you're craving it because you were building the foundation on your relationship, building off of the physical aspect instead of the emotional aspect. And I'm not just talking about falling in love with someone. It's like, yes, loving someone, being in love with someone is also part of the foundation that you build upon. So, and when you lack the emotional portion, the emotional connection, that bond in your relationship, and you know that 2 years went by, the 5 years went by, you've been married for 7 years, your relationship is your relationship has a tendency to suffer in the spicy time area. So now you're in a situation where you're like, oh well, I'm just not in the mood. I don't feel like it tonight, you know. And maybe that's because, you don't feel appreciated by your partner, or maybe you don't feel like your partner is putting in the effort to understand you as a person. You're not feeling like your feelings are being validated. You're not feeling heard by your partner. And now your partner starts feeling frustrated because they're being rejected in the bedroom. They're hearing you say, oh, I'm not in the mood, or not tonight, on a consistent level. And now they're frustrated or confused, or they don't understand what's happening. And that happens in so many couples relationship. And the what's happening is that couples aren't understanding that the emotional connection is directly connected to the physical intimacy. So the lack of the emotional connection will directly translate to a lack of physical intimacy. And I know a lot of, I'm not saying physical intimacy isn't important in your relationship. I'm not saying that. But physical intimacy is satisfaction in the moment, right? But when you add emotional connection to that, that connection is what's going to sustain the relationship in a more meaningful way. It's going to set the foundation to create a true bond, a true emotional bond with between you and your partner, even when the physical intimacy isn't present consistently. So, just for you guys out there that are like, well, what is physical intimacy? Let's go through it real quick. Okay. So, it's literally that deep feeling of closeness and that connection that you have with your partner where you truly feel like, okay, my partner sees me. They see who I really am from the inside to the outside. It's that part of the relationship that makes you feel heard, that makes you feel validated. You can actually share your feelings on like this deep level with your partner, and they're so attentive to be able to listen and hang on to every word that your words literally resonate with them emotionally. Like it's that feeling of knowing that your partner cares so much about you that they're willing to make sure that you feel understood and that they understand you, and maybe even understand you a little bit more than you understand yourself, and they can help you out in that area. Like it's that type of closeness, that type of connection. Like it's a it's literally like a glue that's holding your hearts together. It's an emotional glue. So it's about creating that space where you can feel comfortable to share those deep thoughts and those feelings, those fears, the dreams that you have, knowing that you're not going to be judged for it, knowing that you're not going to be rejected for having those feelings, having those thoughts, sharing those fears, or having the dreams that you do. It's having that emotional trust with a partner. Because it's like, you have that external trust, right? It's like, okay, I trust that my partner's going to tell me the truth. Like, for example. So it's like, okay, can I trust my partner with my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings, my dreams, my goals? Can I trust them with that? So just put yourself in a situation where, think about your own relationship for a second. If your partner isn't sharing these things with you, it begs a few questions. You know, First question, is there space in my relationship for them to trust me with all of those things? Is there space in my relationship for them to trust you with all of that? Thoughts, fears, dreams, opinions, concerns, fears. Is there space in your relationship where you can trust that you're being accepted for the person that you are? Is there space in your relationship for you to feel supported as you grow as an individual, but also grow as a unit, as a team, and a partnership? And as think about your current space in your relationship right now, and as you answer those questions to yourself, if you answer no, it's okay. It's okay. Because what I found, like as a coach with my clients, is that it's not because you don't care that this space isn't created in your relationship for trust and deepening emotional connection. It's because you just lack the tools to be able to nurture that space so it can grow. It's like planting a garden. If you aren't sure what the first steps are to plant a garden, you're not going to be able to begin that phase. You're not going to be able to start planting. And if you don't know how to maintain that garden, you might not start a garden at all. So just think about that in relation to your relationship. It's the same thing. When something is hard, when you don't know how to move forward in doing something, you might not do it at all. Or maybe you try a few things and they don't work and you're like, well, I don't want to keep doing this. Whatever that thing is, and that's understandable. But if you're if you're looking for fulfilling your relationship, strengthening your relationship, those quitting isn't really on the list of things to do, right? So I'm going to actually help you, like get you started in deepening your connection with your partner with these three strategies. Like these will be helpful in kind of getting your feet wet and moving forward. And yes, these things aren't going to be the easiest. They can be for some, they can be challenging for others. But I challenge you and encourage you to step out of your own way, step out of your comfort zone, and try these three strategies that I'm going to give you right now. Okay, so first, practice active listening. So I'm sure you guys have heard of active listening before, and it is literally a skill. A lot of people don't have this skill. So you need to practice in order to make it a discipline, in order to make it a habit, in order for it to become second nature in your relationship, right? So why it's important, because like a lot of us listen to our partners because we're trying to respond to what they're saying. We want to listen so we know how to respond in a certain way, or we are trying to listen because we're like, oh, I need to prove a point on that. And no, you don't. The whole point of active listening is to be able to understand your partner, is to be able to hear what they're saying, understand where they're at emotionally, where they're at with their thoughts, and be present with them and actually share that experience with them that they're sharing with you. Like this is also an opportunity to allow your partner to feel heard, to feel like you are there with them, you are listening to them, and validate. There's also an opportunity for you to validate their feelings. So instead of dismissing, we want to acknowledge those feelings and tell them that it's okay to feel this way, right? Active listening is an opportunity to be able to do all of that. So, what you do as an active listener is make sure you're creating a safe space, right? We talked about trust. But in order to create that safe space, we need no distractions. So, turn your phone off, turn the TV off, turn the kids off. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you and your partner have a space where you two aren't distracted. So you both can be present in the moment with each other. So you can actively understand what both of you are saying. Also, being able to listen to your partner without interruptions. I know this is a difficult part for a lot of people. It's challenging because you're if you're going into the conversation with the mindset of, I got to make a point. Like I'm going to feel blamed, so I got to make a point. I got to prove them wrong, and you're interrupting at every other point so you can respond to that. What you're doing in that is, one, not only are you not listening, you're not allowing your partner to complete a thought, because in that moment where your partner's trying to share with you, they are in their own head, and a lots of times they're trying to articulate what they're feeling, what they're thinking, in a way that makes sense, or in a way that is accurate and true for them, to get you to understand where they're coming from and how that makes them feel. So when you interrupt, you kind of cut off their thought process. So now there may be misunderstandings because they've cut off their thought. And maybe they were just at the brink of being able to say, okay, I think I'm realizing what I feel and how I feel that way. And then you cut them off and then they lose it. You know, they lose the thought. So listen without interrupting. If you need to, say, hey, when we hold this pen, whoever holds this pen, that's the person that's talking, and then you swap, like do that. That way it's a visual trigger that, okay, my partner is holding the pen, so I'm listening. That's your only job in that moment. Also, ref, active listening allows you to be able to reflect on what your partner said, reflect on the intent behind what they said, but also um, it allows you to gain clarity to avoid future misunderstandings. So repeat back what you think you heard, repeat back what you understand them to be saying. Because sometimes we say, our partner can say one thing and then we hear something else and we think, oh, yeah, I totally get it. And then we find out weeks later that we didn't. So repeat back what you think you understood them say. But also, as we talked about, again, validating your partner's feelings. So when they're sharing with you, let them know that how they're feeling is okay. That you're not judging them for how they feel. Let them know that it's okay that you feel overwhelmed and that must be hard and tiring. Help them understand that you understand. Also, with active listening, you know someone's listening when they're asking questions, right? When they're asking for clarity. You know that they're following you in what you're saying. So asking open-ended questions, and those questions are just questions that require more information than just a yes or a no. So when you ask these open-ended questions, your you're giving an opportunity for them to share even more about what they were already sharing with you. So if they were tiptoeing into it, you're showing them, okay, I am listening. I am asking questions. I am sharing in this moment with you and understanding how you feel. So tell me more about that. You're giving them more of an opportunity to open up for you. And because of active listening, you are now kind of cultivating this safe space for them. So, number two, I know that was a lot under number one, but number two, share your vulnerabilities. And I know this is a difficult place to be because a lot of people don't share their vulnerabilities for a multitude of reasons. And literally, underneath all of that is just that they just don't feel emotionally safe to do so. But it matters because, like, in order for you to get that true intimacy, it requires letting your guard down. Sharing those fears, sharing those insecurities is going to help build the trust with each other. And the four main reasons that couples or one partner doesn't share their feelings, mostly it's one partner in a coupling that is, you know, not vulnerable. But the top four reasons, one is because they've had a past experience where they didn't feel safe to share. Or two, they're in a current experience with their partner and they don't trust that they can actually share their insecurities with their partner. Three, there's a fear there's a fear underneath all of that to be able to share their feelings because they fear that they're going to get blamed for how they feel or how they're thinking about the situation. It's like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. It's like, side note, please don't tell anyone that they shouldn't feel that way because they do. So now we're here. We're at the feeling. We have to move forward. It's invalidating to someone to tell them that how they should and shouldn't feel. So, and I know when I share that, couples are like, I didn't know that. I was just trying to help them feel better. And I get that. But they don't want to feel blamed for feeling how they feel. They want to be validated. But if they're not getting that fear, they're not going to open up. And four, the fear of feeling like their feelings are just going to get dismissed. It's like they open up and they're sharing, and their spouse or significant other is just like, oh, well, it was just a joke, or you know, there's no apology here for that. I'm not apologizing for that. Or just not understanding their feelings. They're sharing the feelings, and it's just getting dismissed like they never said anything to begin with. And what do you think happens after that? After your feelings get dismissed, that makes your partner feel like they're not being heard. And then what happens after that? They stop sharing their feelings. Even if they were tiptoeing into it, you dismissed it, and they're like, well, I'm done with that. So, but even though being vulnerable is difficult and it's hard to step out of that comfort zone, we put up those walls and we're like, we're happy and cozy and we feel safe behind these walls. But I encourage you just to take that baby step when you're learning to share your vulnerability. Start with a wider topic, childhood memories or like a funny story from your past. Then, gradually progress into deeper topics. And, if you can be a good active listener in those childhood memory, funny story topics, those lighthearted topics, then your partner will feel comfortable progressing towards deeper topics. So, like everything I'm sharing with you, it's like it's Literally, step one, step two, step three. Because our step one, if we aren't, if we can't, practice active listening, it's going to be hard for us to build the trust and allow our partner the space to be vulnerable, right? We can't, you can't do them out of order. You can't do one before the other. So I'm just trying to make this simple in a step format for you guys. So yeah, start with those light-hearted conversations, then gradually go to the deeper topics. But also offer reassurance to your partner when they decide to share something that's vulnerable to them. Respond to them with kindness and love and empathy. Share that experience with them. Take yourself out of the equation for just a minute while they're sharing with you. Don't judge them. Don't give them advice on, how they should have handled it or what they should have done. And don't tell them how you would have handled the situation, because what they're sharing isn't about you, it's about them. So just show up for them so you can be there and present with them, sharing in that experience. And three, the last one, cultivate shared experiences. So this matters because sharing experiences together is going to help build that foundation for a better connection. It's going to help you be able to strengthen that bond and your relationship overall. Intimacy is just not about, just feeling closer. It's being closer, which overall affects the quality of your relationship and the quality of your life. It's a trickle down theory, right? Or butterfly. No, not butterfly effect, but you get my drift. So sharing, sharing these experiences with your partner, just together. I'm not saying a family outing. I'm not saying, game night with friends. I'm saying sharing experiences with your partner. It creates new memories that you can look back on with happiness and joy and be like, oh, that was such a good time in our lives. Or that was the time, I will never forget this because that was the time that I emotionally opened up to you. Or, it allows you to create new memories going forward to reminisce on, because you were in a happy place. You experienced something awesome with your partner. They're involved in that good memory. You associate that good memory with your partner. So in doing that and cultivating, shared experiences, you want to plan that time together, right? You want to have time where you can focus solely on each other and be intentional about it. So, you can plan that couple's vacation, right? But what's the intent behind it? Is it just to get away and see a new place? Is it just to have spicy time in a new location? Or is it to actually reconnect with your partner on an emotional level? So when you're planning this time together, be intentional, not about, or be intentional about what you're doing, but also why you're doing it. So, and try something new. I know there are couples who are in their comfort zone because they do the same thing every night, every Friday, every Monday, whatever the case may be. But in addition to that, nothing inherently wrong with just being on a schedule and going to a place that you both enjoy on a Saturday night. But in addition to that, or if you want to replace it, do you try something that neither one of you has done before? Or if one of you has done it, you haven't done it together. It could be hiking, a cooking class, a couples dance class if you're feeling, if you're feeling fancy. So when you try new things, it just adds excitement. It's think about how much joy it is when you try new things. So it's going to add excitement to your relationship. And again, it's going to add to the foundation of that emotional experience that you get to have with your partner. And also, in addition to that, celebrate the small wins. Acknowledge your partner's achievements. You can do it at work, right? If your team member uh, did really good on a project, you're going to give them a pat on the back and be like, good job. Do the same thing for your partner. Let your partner know that you're proud of them for just taking that small step towards vulnerability because you know how difficult it was for them. Celebrate small wins just the same you would celebrate big ones. Let them know that you love them by way of celebrating them in addition to saying I love you. So just to recap, so 3 strategies on how to just kind of get more close and deepen that emotional connection with your partner. Number one, uh, number one, we said practice active listening, right? Number two, sharing your vulnerabilities with your partner. And number three, just cultivating new experiences so you guys can get that excitement in your relationship. So so emotional intimacy is a necessity in your relationship in addition to physical intimacy if you want a fulfilling long-term relationship. So it's stepping out of your comfort zone. It's getting out of your own way. If your relationship is a priority and this is a struggle that you're having right now, try these 3 steps. These are your entry level. This is opening up the door to what you could possibly have in having that bond with your partner. So step out of the comfort zone. Step outside the door. Step through the door.